Welcome everyone, thank you for being here. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to serve. My name is Radhika. I am Madhava's wife. And, as we travel, we've been doing this service for a number of years now. We always get the same kind of questions, very common questions. When did you start? How long have you been doing that? Do you go to many countries of the world? Have you been all over the world? Which countries, when, how many times per year? So basically, people want to know the human story behind Madhava. The human being behind his what you see. So I'll start by just telling you, briefly describing, his childhood. He was five years old when his parents joined the Hare Krishna temple. Now, by joining, I don't mean that they moved into the temple, because his father was a land surveyor, his mother a primary school teacher. So they stayed at home, but they did service 5 to 7 times per week. So they were very closely involved with the Hare Krishna temple in Mauritius. So Madhava grew up in close connection with the culture, with the Hare Krishna culture. He had his first Mridanga when he was 5 years old. And okay. He had his first Mridanga when he was 5 years old, and he says the brahmacharis would never let him play in Kirtan. They would just push him aside because he was just a kid, disturbing. And he went to primary school in Mauritius, to secondary school, high school, teenage years. He was no exception there. Wild teenage years. Until 16 to 18, and his parents didn't know what to do with him. And he had no interest, spiritually, materially, nothing interested him. So a few weeks after he turned 18, his father went like, "What am I going to do with you? What do you want to do?" And he said, "Send me to Vrindavan." Vrindavan? Yeah. So they put him on a plane. He lands in Delhi. He didn't have much money because I think they were really fried with him. So he couldn't even pay for the taxi. He took the local bus. Anybody knows India, the local bus? At that time in the early 90s, it was easily a 5-hour drive from Delhi to Vrindavan, and you put your luggage. Well, you think, human beings, they see luggage, just step over it. But not in India. They walk all over, whatever you have, whatever is on the floor. He had no idea what to do. He had no idea where Vrindavan was. Every 15 minutes he would ask, "Are we there yet?" Yes, yes, yes. Just now coming in front. So that went on for about 4 to 5 hours. And finally, he arrives in Vrindavan. He checks in the guest house. He knows nothing. And he goes to his room without even taking a shower, still in his jeans. He just comes down to the temple to take darshan. He enters the temple, and as he enters, he sees on a corner there's some few brahmacharis doing kirtan. And as he makes eye contact, one of them calls him over and says, "Do you know how to play Mridanga?" Yeah, nonchalant, Yeah, I guess so. Okay, sit and play. So there were a few brahmacharis, and Madhava starts to play. Barely a few minutes after arriving in Vrindavan. That person sings. After a while he stops. Then somebody else comes and starts to sing. After a while this person stops. But this second person talks to him and says, "You're not too bad. Why don't you join the 24-hour kirtan?" And Madhava says, "What happens then? What happens then, Madhava?"
Well, I had this letter from a friend of mine who was on the 24-hour Kirtan before, from Mauritius, and he gave me this recommendation letter. And I told that devotee, well, I have this letter for Aindra Das. And he looked at me, and he had the smile on his face. And he said, I am Aindra. And I looked at him, I thought, well, I've heard Aindra's Kirtan before, and it doesn't really match. You know, Aindra Prabhu sounds like an Indian. And there was a white guy, American guy with red hair and red beard right in front of me. I thought, no. They said, yes, I'm Aindra. Why don't you join the 24-hour Kirtan? Why don't you move to the ashram? I said, okay. So I went to the guest house, got my luggage, and there I was in the Brahmachari ashram, right in the middle of winter. And I was 18. I just left Mauritius. Mauritius is warm. It's practically no winter. And it was very cold. You know, I didn't have a mattress. I didn't even have a mat. And I had this sleeping bag that couldn't zip. So I just got in my sleeping bag and I was sleeping just on the floor. And it was freezing. And the bathroom and toilets were about 100 meters away. So you had to walk or run. Well, run 100 meters to go take a shower and run back so that you wouldn't catch a cold. So that was my first winter in Vrindavan. And just 1 month after I joined the 24-hour Kirtan, Aindra Prabhu started recording his very first tapes. At that time, it was 1992. There was no CDs at that time. It was just cassettes. And we started recording Chintamani Nam. I don't know if any one of you knows about the city, Chintamani Nam. Yeah, it didn't really become that famous as Vrindavan Mellows, but that was when we started. And everything was recorded in Aindra Prabhu's room. His room was really special. You know, it was it had 4 walls, and on the walls was cow dung. There was cow dung everywhere on the wall. It was like 50% cow dung and 50% mud. This was to keep the room warm in the winter and cool in the summer. And it also kept the mosquitoes away. So that was one of the properties of cow dung. So we sat in his room recording Chintamani Nam. And he asked me to play Kartals. At that time he had one Mridanga player, which who left after a year. So I was the Kartal player. And he wanted the Kartals really soft. And I couldn't really play soft because, you know, at some point you can't play any softer on the Kartals. So he gave me this kind of a basket, you know, it looks like a little chair that you sit on, you know, with a little rubber tire on top. And he told me, okay, play Kartals in this basket. Now I thought, wow, I never done this before. This is like totally weird. And then I had my hands in the basket, and Aindra was like there on the harmonium singing, and I couldn't see what my hand was doing. My hand was in the basket, and I was playing Kartals. I could just hear the sound coming out of the basket. And that's how we basically recorded Chintamani Nam. And Aindra Prabhu did the backup vocals. He did he played the harmonium, and then later we added some backup vocals. We got a few brahmacharis, a few devotees together. And that was his first cassette that came out. But I will talk a little bit about my training, that I got from Aindra Prabhu. Anyone who knows Aindra Prabhu, he had red hair, which means fire, fiery. Aindra Prabhu was like a father to me. He was very caring, but at the same time like a father, really heavy sometimes, or many times. But his intention was to teach everyone, or to make everyone become a good kirtaniya, or to get a taste for chanting. And I was 18. I thought I was the best Mridanga player. 18, everyone's got the ego up there. And I wasn't bad at the Mridanga, I would say. I was okay. But, it's just, that's the way it is when you're 18. You think you're on top of the world. And Aindra Prabhu would, for 1 year, after every kirtan, almost every kirtan, he would call me to his room. And for 2 or 3 hours, he would just hammer me, telling me how I was not the best Mridanga player. I mean, not just to, it was not out of malice. It wasn't, he was just trying to crush my ego. But he was trying to teach me something that I needed to surrender, to try and become humble, to be able to play the Mridanga. And there would be some days I would argue with him, and other days I would just sit down and listen. And I knew what he was saying was right. And it was so painful that I would just sit there and tears would just start flowing down from my eyes. And then after a while I thought, okay, this has been going on for a while. What do I do now? Is that going to keep on going? Am I going to change? Do I want to make some spiritual advancement by doing kirtan, by listening to Aindra Prabhu's instruction? And I thought, yes, maybe that's a good idea. And one of his points that he made was, if you play Mridanga, you also need to chant. And I wasn't chanting. I was just concentrating on my Mridanga rhythms, on my fancy beats, trying to make it as fancy as possible. And and he said, your Mridanga playing is 0 if you don't put a 1 before that. And that 1 is Krishna. That 1 is the Maha Mantra. It's in the 24-hour kirtan. Those of you who have been to Vrindavan, there's only one mantra that we chant in the temple room, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And this goes on for 24 hours. Has been going on since 1986, when Aindra Prabhu came back and restarted the 24-hour kirtan. So then I thought, okay, I would try and surrender and chant while I play Mridanga. It was a little difficult in the beginning, because you're so used to just play the Mridanga and not sing. So you had to coordinate the mouth with the hands. The mouth was doing something else and the hands were doing something else. And sometimes the mind was thinking of something else. So it was a lot to deal with. And basically I thought, okay, I will try this, because I want to go somewhere. I want to learn something. I came to Vrindavan, and it's not really the most comfortable place to live. Staying in the ashram, cold in the winter, really hot in the summer. Summer is like 52 degrees. There's no AC, and we have to sit down in the temple room. Our service was 6 hours of kirtan every day, and I sit down for 3 hours on a shift, and you get up, and you have this puddle of sweat all around you. That was summertime, and you couldn't really eat much because it was so hot, and the prasadam was so spicy, so you could only eat some salad, some little dal and chapati. So that was some of the austerities. So I had to really get serious about chanting, and doing kirtan was one of the best experiences that I had in Vrindavan. And Aindra Prabhu himself taught humility by personally going down and cleaning the toilets. Once he came to my room, knocking on my door. He said, "Madhava, let's go clean the toilets." I thought, no, he's joking. He's a Prabhupada disciple, and he's not going to go clean the toilets. And said, "No, there's toilets in the Brahmachari ashram are in a very bad state. Let's go do this." And I never cleaned toilets in my life. And I said, no way. No, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to describe the state of the toilets. But he went to his room, he put on his gamsha, and he had some gloves. And I saw him coming out with a gallon of acid and walking towards the toilet. And I thought, okay, something just clicked. I thought, okay, he's this wonderful devotee who has so much taste for chanting, and he's been in the movement for so many years. He's been living in Vrindavan, and he's willing to bow down, surrender, and go and clean the toilets. And who am I to think that I can't go and clean the toilets? And I thought, okay, put on my gamsha, run to the toilets, and we cleaned the toilets for about 2-3 hours. And it was one of the most cleansing experience, cleaning the heart. Without humility, we can't chant. So Aindra Prabhu really taught that by his personal example. I know the story he kept on chastising me because I wasn't I wasn't singing in the kirtans. And he kept on telling me, "You're not the best Mridanga player, you're not the best Mridanga player." And one day I just snapped. I told him, "Why don't you go find some other Mridanga player? I'll play Kartals." And I just went to my room, slammed the door, locked myself for 3 days without coming out. And every day, Aindra Prabhu would come and knock on the door. And he would say, "Why don't you come out and play Mridanga? Radhesham is missing your Mridanga playing." And he took this really humble position, coming every day and knocking on the door like 2 or 3 times a day. And I was there in my room, just proud and angry. But then after a couple of days, I started. It gave me the time to think. What am I doing? I'm making this wonderful devotee just come and beg me to play Mridanga. What kind of a fool I am. And by the 3rd day, he came and knocked, and said, my Gornitai sent some Mahaprasad for you. And it was 3 days I hadn't eaten. And I just opened the door. I was starving. And there was the Mahaprasad, and I just surrendered. I thought, okay, I will have to change, or else my kirtans or my mridanga playing is not going to have any effect on myself or on the people and devotees hearing the kirtans. And when I changed that state of mind, then kirtans became really, really sweet with Aindra Prabhu. He stopped yelling at me in the kirtans. And sometimes he would, those of you who have been in Aindra Prabhu's kirtans, sometimes he would stop and yell at people right in the middle of the kirtan. He didn't care how many people were in the room. He would just take the Kartals away from someone who was speeding up or spacing out and just throw it. Sometimes it would even land in someone's head. And he didn't care. His main intention was that everyone who was present in the kirtan had to focus, had to concentrate, had to chant. You couldn't sit in Aindra Prabhu's kirtan and look around and the mind wasn't there. It wasn't happening in his kirtan. So he stopped yelling at me, and we had the sweetest kirtans. I knew whenever he would make the changes, from one rhythm to the other, or the breakdowns, I could just feel it, because I was trying to connect with Aindra Prabhu's mood, and those kirtans were really powerful. And this is when we started recording Vrindavan Mellows. Vrindavan Mellows created a whole revolution in the kirtana world, especially amongst the devotees. So I'll tell you a little bit about how we recorded Vrindavan Mellows. You guys want to hear that? Aindra Prabhu, he was offered studio time in Delhi to go and record the cassettes, Vrindavan Mellows. And he said, no, I don't want to go to Delhi. I want to sit down here in Vrindavan, chant Hare Krishna, and get 1,000 times more benefit sitting in Vrindavan and influence the whole world just by sitting in Vrindavan. So the main idea of recording Vrindavan Mellows was to give Vrindavan to the whole world. And Aindra Prabhu sat in just 1 square meter for so many years, doing kirtan in Vrindavan, and changed so many people's hearts, especially the youth, including myself, Vishnu, so many of us. His kirtan was so powerful. His conviction, his faith in the holy names was so powerful that it could just burst and go into people's heart. So Vrindavan Mellows was recorded at night, from 10 o'clock to 4:30 in the morning. The first Vrindavan Mellows took 6 months, because we didn't have a whole big studio. Nowadays we have all those fancy digital studios where you can record where you can have nice recordings. But Aindra Prabhu was donated a 4-track, 4 stacks. This was the fanciest thing they had at that time. And the first track that we would lay was the Mridanga. Come in. The first track that we would lay would be the Mridanga and the harmonium, and Aindra Prabhu singing. So Aindra Prabhu would sing, play the harmonium, and I would play the Mridanga. And whenever I did something wrong on the Mridanga, we had to start over again. Or whenever Aindra Prabhu did a mistake on the harmonium, that meant we would have to start over again. And we did that on and on for like 20, 30 times on each song. And by the time we finished recording the whole song, we would be so tired of it that we wouldn't want to listen to it anymore. But it was so fun at the same time, because it meant that you really had to give your best for the pleasure of Krishna. To do kirtan, to please Krishna, not for your own little satisfaction. Just doing some fancy mridanga beats on the mridanga, or doing some fancy melodies on the harmonium. And at one point, I was praying to Balaram. Well, I was praying every day to the deities. I was going to Gauritai, Krishna Balaram, Radha Shyam Sundar, and praying to them, my dear Lord, please make me become the best mridanga player. I was doing that every day. And during the recording, I was praying also, not to be the best mridanga player, but I was praying, my dear Lord, please make my mridanga playing. Please make me become your servant. Please make my mridanga playing touch people's heart. And there would be rhythms or beats on the mridanga that I would play, and I would hear it again, and I wouldn't be able to play the same beat again, because Lord Balaram was just showering, the mercy. He was giving the Shakti, I was just the instrument. So it's all dependent on the mood. Aindra Prabhu's mood was to sing for the pleasure of Radha Shyam, for the pleasure of Radha and Krishna, nothing else. He wasn't a crowd pleaser. He wasn't singing to please the crowd. When anyone of you who've been to Aindra's kirtans, you could see, when he sat, he was looking at the deities, or either he had his eyes closed. He was really, really focused, and he was intense. Intense means, you're really, drilling the heart. You're really pulling out something and expressing your feelings to Prabhupada, to Radha and Krishna, by doing kirtan. And that was Aindra Prabhu. And this is what we were trying to do while recording Vrindavan Mellows. So that was at night. And early in the morning, so basically we would put the Aindra Prabhu would do the singing track, the harmonium track. I would do the harmonium, the mridanga. And then I would listen to whatever we recorded and play the Kartals over. So I would put the Kartal tracks, put the shakers and the rhythm, the bells, all the rhythm instruments I would do. And Aindra Prabhu would put all the string instruments. We hear all these nice, the Indian banjo, the swar mandala, all these string instruments. Aindra Prabhu would put those on, and then would put the backup vocals. And if you listen very carefully, you might hear some ladies singing. on the recording. You ever notice some Mataji singing? Yeah? Not sure. Yeah. All right, listening very carefully, right? But yeah, you can hear some ladies singing. And Aindra Prabhu used to call it the gopi voice. And they weren't Mataji singing. It was us singing. It was Aindra Prabhu, myself, and a couple of other brahmacharis. We were doing the falsetto, singing, different on a different octave that sounded like ladies. So we had headphones on at 3 o'clock in the morning, and devotees would and we would be hearing the whole recording, whatever was recorded before, the Mridanga, the main vocals and the other instruments. And devotees would be coming in at 3 o'clock or 3:30, before Mangalarti to chant japa. And they'll be hearing these weird voices, and they come and look. It's like, these Aindra Prabhu and, these weird guys like, belling out like ladies' voices, falsetto. They didn't know what was happening. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. And then Aindra Prabhu really wanted to give Vrindavan Mellows the Vrindavan touch. So sometimes I would go with him, to the forest. Now, if you go to Vrindavan, there's not much forest anymore. There's forests of buildings. But there used to be really nice places where there would be lots of peacocks and parrots. So we would go to these places, and sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the evenings, when it'd be really quiet. We have a tape recorder and a microphone, and record the peacocks or the cows. And on one Vrindavan Mellows, there's Aindra Prabhu even recorded the Tonga wala. The Tonga guy is the horse with a cart that carries people to Vrindavan. And the Tonga guy was saying Vrindavan, 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 Vrindavan. And this is Aindra Prabhu recorded that. And one day he sent me out to get some sound effects. And I walked around Vrindavan. I guess my mind wasn't so concentrated. I didn't find anything. And I was close to Radha Gokulananda. And I thought, okay, it's getting late. I'll just go take darshan and then go back to the temple. So I went to take darshan, and I reached the courtyard before entering the temple, and there was this Bengali lady pumping water, and at the same time she was chanting Radhe Radhe.
No.
Was it Radhe? No, was it Radhe Sham, Radhe Sham, or Radhe? I can't remember now, but yeah, she was pumping, and I took out my microphone and started recording. Then she stopped. I said, no, please don't stop. This is really good. And then she kept on pumping and chanting. And this is, I think, at the end of one of the Vrindavan Mellows. So the whole idea was to give people Vrindavan, to bring Vrindavan to the masses, to all the devotees, to everyone, by recording Kirtan in Vrindavan, by doing Kirtan in Vrindavan, and by having the proper mood of Kirtan, of doing Kirtan in Vrindavan. So that was Aindra Prabhu's intention. And when Vrindavan Mellows came out, we were getting reviews from different countries, and people, devotees would hear those cassettes, and they'd never heard something like this before, because we were used to the New York temple kirtans, or Vyasaki Prabhu's kirtans, Agni Dev. So Vrindavan Mellows was like a whole different flavor. All these exotic instruments, string instruments, different rhythms, and birds chirping right in the middle of the kirtan, parrots, peacocks. It was something out of this world, and it really connected the people to Vrindavan. I stayed with Aindra Prabhu for 6 years, doing I was his Mridanga player, and I didn't like crowds. So for a year, I asked Aindra Prabhu to put me on the night shift from 10 o'clock to 4:30 in the morning, what we call the graveyard shift. There's practically no one on this shift, only 2 devotees, and sometimes, I would be on my own if that other devotee was sick or didn't wake up. Or sometimes he would be alone if I was sick. And that shift was really special because, I want, at least for me, because I wanted to just stay away from the crowds. And by doing this shift, it also taught me that, I needed to become focused, or else time would just stay. It wouldn't go forward at all. If I wasn't putting my heart in the kirtan, if I wasn't concentrating on what I was chanting, or even playing Mridanga. So I really had to work, to force myself to control the mind, to chant or to play Mridanga, so that I could do that 6.5 hours of service. It was because there was no one to impress. There was no crowd. Sometimes when we have a crowd, it's easier to do kirtan, right? Because we sometimes at the back of the mind, we're thinking, okay, we're chanting with the people, and the people are responding. We're getting some feedback. It's encouragement. But on the night shift, it wasn't like that. So that was one of my best kirtan experiences, that I had on the night shift. So after 6 years, it was time for me to leave Vrindavan. So on the last day, I went to Aindra Prabhu's room to ask him for his blessings to leave. And I sat in front of his Gornitai and his shalagrams. And I didn't say much. I was sad. He was sad. He looked at me, he had tears in his eyes, and I said, I trained you up as a Mridanga player. You're my best Mridanga player. Now you're leaving. Who's going to play for me? And I told him, well, you'll find someone. And he said, no, I won't find someone like you. And he told me never to stop practicing my Mridanga. And one of the instructions that he gave me was, wherever I go, I should chant Hare Krishna, even if I had to sing to the 4 walls. So that was a very simple instruction that he gave me.
Yeah, so basically when Madhava returned to Mauritius for 2 years, what to do? Vrindavan being Vrindavan, it means we're not in control. We all have a time there. Unless Radharani allows us, we can't really stay. So it may be for whatever reason, he left 2 years he stayed in Mauritius, and basically he didn't achieve anything in there. Nothing really worked there for him. Yeah, you know. But he found himself a wife. And then we went back to India. And we went back to India. And there he stayed for 6 months, working on Rajavilas that time with Aindra Prabhu. And I went to England. He joined me in England a little bit later. And basically we, you know, after trying, we just settled in Switzerland. And in Switzerland there, he would keep regular contact with Aindra Prabhu. And over the 10 years, he received 3 letters handwritten by Aindra Prabhu, who always told him never stop chanting and always keep practicing the Mridanga. And in Switzerland, we also started to do Kirtan. This is when he started to travel. And yeah, I mean, he was also working.
Yes, I worked 10 years as a carpenter, you know, making our furniture. And that was Monday to Friday. On Fridays after work, I would come home, take a shower, have a quick back, and then get on a plane. Go somewhere, go to England or Hungary, do kirtan for the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and then back to work on Monday. So that was quite tough, because the job that I was doing, you couldn't really space out. You know, I was working with machines that could, if you spaced out the fingers would go like butter. So I had to really focus on my work, and at the same time I was trying to do kirtan. So I did that for 10 years, and when we moved to Switzerland, Sachinandan Swami asked me to do kirtan at the temple in Zurich. And at that time they didn't have much kirtan going on, especially in the evening after the arti. The 7 o'clock arti would finish at 7:30, at 8 o'clock, sorry. And then people would just hang out and do nothing, or go home, socialize. And Maharaj asked me to just do some kirtan. So I started just sitting down in the temple room, Radhika, myself. And we started with 3 people. And temple devotees wouldn't really come because they were tired from the Sunday feast. So we had 3 guests that would come, and they would just close their eyes and not sing. That's how we started kirtan in Zurich. And first I thought, okay, no problem. Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra is there, Gaurnita is there. I don't have to worry. I'm going to sing for their pleasure. I don't have to worry about these people. But then after a while, I thought, no, that's not the right attitude. You know, I should try and encourage them to chant. So then I started reading a little bit, bits and pieces from about the glories and the power of the holy names from His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj's books, The Nectarian Ocean of the Holy Names. And then the people started chanting. And then we started getting more people, and then at one point the temple room was packed. We had about 60 to 80 people that were coming every Sunday evening for kirtan. And we would just chant for an hour and a half from 8 till 9:30. And time would just fly. It was like an hour and a half gone. So, yeah, we were doing that for 10 years and traveling at the same time. And a couple of years ago, my boss sold the business. He was 73. He was a little too old to keep on working. And at that time, I was in Canada, just about to start a 24-hour kirtan at the temple in Toronto. And I called Gopal and myself, we called Aindra Prabhu, on Skype, to ask him for his blessings. He gave me his blessings. He said, don't do 24-hour kirtan in one place, just travel and do 24-hour kirtans everywhere. So we finished the 24-hour kirtan the next day, and I got this phone call. No, someone came running. I said, Aindra Prabhu passed away. I said, nah, this is a very bad joke. I just talked to him yesterday. We had a nice talk, and we were joking, laughing. Then I called Vrindavan, and that was it. Aindra Prabhu was gone. And he left me with this instruction: travel and do kirtan around the world. And I didn't know how it was going to happen.
Well, the boss was too old. I guess like a piece of puzzle, it just all fell in place. It's weird how when you think about it. Madhava was jobless, and somebody actually called and said, we were great supporters of Aindra Prabhu, and we want to support Kirtan, and if you promise to never stop chanting, we'll support part of your financial needs. It was very funny. And anyway, it seems to be happening. Anyway, that's like what we do, why we do, and how we're doing what we're doing. Why we're doing what we're doing, the kirtan and all that. And basically, also, if we have to keep living in this material world and sort of function even economically, we have to keep chanting, otherwise we don't get money. So now we will start with a kirtan etiquette and things like that. Maybe you have questions, and from what he's learned, being in a 24-hour kirtan. But first of all, kirtan, as we know, Sankirtan, right? It comes from the spiritual world. We all know that, right? All devotees. Golokera premadana harinama Sankirtana. The divine treasure, the treasure of divine love has come down in the shape of the congregational chanting. So we might think, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started the chanting 500 years ago, then Prabhupada brought it to the West. We can see the Shakti, right? How it spreads. Prabhupada, the one person, we all know the Shakti, 2 heart attacks, but still look where we are, look about us. We're sitting, we're interfacing, it's all because of Prabhupada, that Shakti of the holy name. But then we might think, but that was Krishna himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhupada with Shakti of Vaishnava. But what about me? Do I have that? To have that Shakti, you need a special person. But I was just reading, right? And Prabhupada came to New York, I think 1967, the first batch of devotees he initiated, and there was Mukunda Maharaj, who at the time was Mukunda Das. He was married to Janaki. Now Mukunda and Janaki, they decided they want to go to India. A couple of weeks after initiation, they want to go to India. And clearly, Prabhupada just started the movement. He doesn't have much to say. They want to go to India, they want to go to India. And they decided to go to India by first driving to see a couple of friends. I can't remember the Karmi name, but that was Shamasundar and Malati. And then keep driving to San Francisco, and then from there, go to India. And Prabhupada told Mukunda, you're going, if it is possible, maybe you can please open a center in San Francisco. And Mukunda Maharaj writes in the book, had no intention of opening any center. Very new devotees want to go to India. How do you open a center anyway? But he goes, he meets Malachi and Shyamasundar, and they both say, if you open a center, then call us. Mukunda and Janaki arrive in San Francisco. They're there for a while, and something happens in the heart. Maybe we should stay. And they call Shyamasundar and Malachi who then join them. And then they try to find a building. They don't know anything about morning program, nothing. But the only thing that they do know is you chant. That they start chanting. Few weeks after being initiated by Srila Prabhupada. Very new people. They also start chanting. And by starting chanting, they also attract a lot of people. And when Prabhupada comes to San Francisco for that first time, they were already ready-made devotees, unlike New York, where he had to make the first devotees. So that chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it is so powerful that even us, fallen, no qualification, nothing, it works through. The only qualification is that we have to believe in it, and we have to have the desire to want to make a change. It happens. The etiquette.
Does anyone have any questions regarding the first part? Vrindavan, Aindra Prabhu.
Yes. Why did you leave after 6 years?
Why did I leave?
What led you to say, okay, it's my time to leave?
Vrindavan is a very intense place. It's not unless you're like totally absorbed and fixed in your service. It's very hard to stay. So my time was over. I had to move on. Do something else. I had that training in Vrindavan, my kirtan training, and it was a phase in my life that I had to leave and do something else.
And you were 22 years old. Just in Vrindavan is like, it's heavy. Yeah.
This is the peak years, from 18 to 20, 22, 23. This is like, you really have to, work so much to control the mind, to control the ego, to really focus. This is the prime time. So I did that, and I needed to, it was like, and something was forcing me to go out.
What would you say that was? Something was forcing you?
Senses? The senses?
Probably the senses, the mind. I needed something, Vrindavan was too intense, it was maybe a little too spiritual for me. I needed to have a break. Yeah. Anyone else?
What one thing would you say Aindra Prabhu, you spent so much time with him, in regards to like chanting the holy name, what one kind of I know you said there was lots of things that happened in your life with him. Is there one particular instruction or lesson in regards to the holy name, chanting the holy name?
One very important lesson that I learned from him was that kirtan was not a performance. He taught us how to really chant for the pleasure of Radhasham, and not doing it as a show, even as a mridang player. Tendency with mridang players is to flex the muscles and play some fancy beats so that everyone can check us out, right? As Mridanga players, even singers, we have a beautiful voice. Someone has a beautiful voice, and they play some fancy melodies on the harmonium, to impress, the public or the crowd. So Aindra Prabhu is very, very strict about really chanting for Krishna's pleasure only, nothing else. So that was his main mood.
And I think this can be really hard, because try to imagine if you're singing. You can see if the public is bored. I mean, you need some kind of appreciation from the public to keep chanting or to keep playing. And if you don't get it, I mean, you as a lead singer, how do you keep going? It's very, very hard to just sort of detach and think, I am doing it because as a service. I'm chanting Hare Krishna as a service. It's very, very, very hard. It's not that easy, actually. I mean, until we start doing retreats and stuff like that, about holy name retreats, japa retreats, kirtan retreats, we don't even learn. We're not even aware how we are influenced by externals, even in our chanting. It's very hard.
And also just being, Aindra Prabhu taught steadiness. To just sit there, whether the mind is running away from the kirtan or whether the mind is in the kirtan. You had to be there. This was the service, 6 hours of kirtan, so you had to be there. And it was the best thing to do was to bring the mind back. When the mind was running away from the kirtan, and just sit and focus and look at the deities. He would always say, look at Radha Shyam. If your mind is running away, look at the deities. See how beautiful they are. Don't look around, don't look at people. So that steadiness.
Prabhu, probably not related to Kirtan, but Aindra Prabhu he associates with many Shaligram Shilas. What do you know about that? How did he come about having such a vast collection, and what's his relationship that got him into that?
Aindra Prabhu used to, he had about 3,000 Shalagram Shilas. Devotees would just come and give him Shalagrams. And he was very Krishna conscious, he wouldn't just go down and do kirtan. He would chant japa, more than 16 rounds. One year before he passed away, he was chanting more than 100 rounds every day. And he would do about 4 or 5 hours of puja, cook for his deities, and read. So the Shalagram puja took a long time, and he would worship them one by one, oil them, put sandal paste, tulsi. So that took him a long time. And that was his way of devotion. But he wasn't going out of his way to get Shalagram. They would just come to him. Devotees would know that Aindra Prabhu had a few Shalagram. He started with a few. He had only, when I joined the 24-hour Kirtan in 1992, he had maybe one small tray full of Shalagram. Last time I saw him, he had about 6 big trays of Shalagram. 10 big trays of Shalagram.
You mentioned that. You mentioned that, like when we're chanting kirtan, it is very sometimes difficult for chanting japa. It's very difficult to detach from the external circumstances, right? And how you Prabhu was saying that sometimes 3 people, 1 person would come, right? Is there anything in our bhakti process or sadhana that you think could specifically help to become detached from that, and strengthen your chanting really for the pleasure of the Lord and not just...
Did you, were you in New Govardhan? Did you do the retreat with Satchidananda Maharaj? There are 2 things there. There's a philosophy that we understand, but unfortunately our mind and emotions are not there. We just understand with the intelligence. And then there's a practical, how we do it. So he taught us one very practical way when the mind is running away. We concentrate on the first Hare. Hare Krishna, and sometimes Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, okay. Hare Krishna, I heard that Hare. Even if the mind is going away for the other words, for the other Krishna and Hares. And slowly by concentrating on the first Hare, then we start concentrating on the whole mantra. At one point it ceases to be like an automatic, like work. It just comes like that. But we have to work at it. It's not something it's not a magical formula. It's never going to be that. It's something we have to concentrate. Like Prabhupada says, just try to hear yourself chant sincerely. It's really not easy. Really not. I mean, personally for me, I wish somebody had told me that when the first day I joined, instead of building up bad habit over so many years, and now I have to unlearn to relearn. Concentrating on the first Hare, sort of disciplining the mind. We are not, Arjuna says, oh Krishna, how can you tell me the mind is so much more difficult to control than the wind? It's only us. Yes, Krishna says, constant practice and determination. It will happen. So it's a very boring thing. Exercise. Practice and determination. We expect it to be, your yogi coming and manufacturing something, and there we are there. I mean, for me, I thought it was like that when I first joined. It's so much hard work. I don't know, does that reply to your question?
And we'll move on to the kirtan etiquette. How to do kirtan, in what mood to do kirtan, why we do kirtan. Also, some little practical tips. Srila Prabhupada, has this wonderful saying, purity is the force. In whatever service that we do, this saying needs to be applied and put into practice, especially in kirtan, because kirtan is basically us talking to Krishna. It's expressing our feelings to Prabhupada, to Radha and Krishna by chanting the holy names. So the phone line has to be clear. We have the phone number. Everyone knows the phone number? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So, the phone line, if the internet connection is not very good, we're not going to be surfing, right? So that connection, that line, how do we make that line clear? So the very first thing is purity. And what is purity? How do we get purity in the kirtan? Aindra Prabhu used to always tell me, especially when I left Vrindavan, I would call him, once a month or, once every 2 months. And the very first thing he would ask me, Are you chanting your 16 rounds? Because if you're not, your kirtans are going to be useless. So chanting 16 rounds, sadhana, following the principles, this is the foundation of kirtan. We need a strong base, or else kirtan becomes just enjoyment, or a show, or just sentimental. We need to have that understanding why we're doing kirtan by doing sadhana. When we're chanting our rounds, kirtan is easy because we have musical instruments, which makes everything so palatable. Sometimes it is palatable, sometimes it's not. We'll come to that later. But it's supposed to be palatable for the ears, for Krishna's ears especially. So kirtan is easier, but japa is tough, right? But this is the real test. Japa is talking to Krishna. It's one-to-one talking to Krishna. And kirtan, because kirtan is everyone's energy together, that's making the kirtan happen. It's easier. So the real test is the japa. How strong is the japa determines how strong the kirtan will be. I once asked Radhanath Swami, what is more important, kirtan or japa? And he said, if your japa is strong, your kirtan will be strong. They both go hand in hand. So the strong practice, purity, is the force. We want to change our hearts by doing kirtan, and we want to change other people's heart by doing kirtan. So how to change the heart is by really following properly. And then the mood of kirtan is, to chant for Krishna's pleasure. Krishna is the enjoyer. Not thinking that we are the enjoyer. We enjoying the beautiful music. It is for Krishna's pleasure. Aindra Prabhu used to say, we have to play the Kartals or the Mridanga or any instruments that we're playing. We have to play it tastefully. Not that we play Kartals, bang on the Kartals. We have to be very considerate that Krishna has very fine ears, and we're playing for his pleasure. And it's the same mood needs to be applied, whether we're chanting with 5 people or 10,000 people, right? We can't have a different frame of mind. The same intensity, the same mood of chanting has to be there. It doesn't depend on how many people we have. We can be alone in the room and chant for the deities, and we can be in front of 10,000 people. That same attitude, the same intensity, the same prayers has to be there. And then we have the intention. What are the intention? Why are we chanting? Is it to impress people? Is it to show the musical talents? Or is it to really chant for the pleasure of Krishna? These are questions that we need to ask ourselves before we do kirtan. Kirtan is very serious business. It's also fun. We chant and dance. This is what they do in the spiritual world. Every word is a song. Every step is a dance. It's blissful. It's fun. But for the bliss to come, there need to be a discipline, like focusing the mind. Like Radhika said, to one technique that Satchidananda Maharaj taught us in the Japa and Kirtan retreat in New Govardhan is to bring the mind back to the first Hare. The first Hare of the mantra. Whenever the mind is running away. Or to just bring the mind, the nature of the mind is chanchala. It's always running here and there. So we bring the mind back to the kirtan. It's a struggle, but Krishna sees that we're trying. And when he sees that we're sincerely trying, he gives us a little bit more rope. Freedom, we get a little bit more taste and love for kirtan. And one very important point is to treat the instruments nicely. The Mridanga is none different from Balaram. And Balaram is Shakti. Balaram is Guru. So we can't just chuck the Mridanga on the floor, put it on a cold floor when we're sitting on a cushion. So without treating the instruments nicely, we're not going to get the blessings. And those of you who learn Mridanga or knows about Mridanga mantras, we have a special Mridanga mantra that we pay respects before someone plays Mridanga. Namo Jagannathaya Sutaya, Namo Mridanga Labanang, Dasa Madhuri Sahasra Guna Sangyuktam, Namo Mridanga Namaha, Namo Baladevaya Namaha. So by humbly begging and praying to Lord Balaram to please use us as an instrument, with this attitude, with this mood, we approach the Mridanga. We touch the Mridanga with a lot of feeling. We play each sound with a lot of feeling. Then the Mridanga, the power of the Mridanga gets to people's heart. And it touches Krishna. If it touches Krishna, then it will touch everyone's heart. And also, very important is, in front of the deities we don't learn. We don't practice in front of the deities. In front of the deities we give our best. We play for their pleasure. So that means we already have to learn. We already have to know the instruments that we play before we play for the pleasure of the deities. The temple room is not a place to practice Kartals or Mridanga. We can practice in our room. Like in Vrindavan, I used to do 6 hours of kirtan and practice 3 or 4 hours of Mridanga. Not in the temple room, on the roof or in a room. And then once we are qualified, then we can play in the temple room. It's not that we just grab Kartals and someone is singing and we don't even know how to play, and it causes disturbance, not only to the kirtan leader, but to Krishna. We need to think that this kirtan is for Krishna's pleasure. So be qualified, learn how to play Kartals, Mridanga. Humility is one of the main ingredients to a good kirtan. By chanting with a humble state of mind, one can attract the attention of Krishna. And if we can't be humble, then we can pray to be humble, during the kirtan by saying prayers. The first we start, paying our respects to all the Vaishnavas, to our Guru, our Kirtan Guru, our initiating Guru, to the Vaishnava-acharyas who have a taste for chanting, ask them for the blessings to chant in a nice mood. And then slowly going in the kirtan, concentrating on the sound vibration, bringing the mind to the first Hare. And what also helps is to go on a pilgrimage to holy places. You can, think of Vrindavan or Mayapur, the temple room or the parikram path. Just think of these holy places when you do kirtan. And then, the whole place is transformed to Vrindavan. If the kirtan leader or if everyone else has the same goal and the same frame of mind. And one very practical thing that I notice is to keep the melodies very simple. And sometimes we think, okay, we're going to chant some really cool melodies, and these are like so complicated. And sometimes, our tongues are even twisting when we're chanting that melody. We become confused ourselves because it's too complicated. What to speak of other people listening and trying to sing that melody. And Srila Prabhupada had very simple melodies. The very famous melodies. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he would just close his eyes, and for hours and hours he would just chant that simple melody. And that melody changed so many people's lives. So the main thing with having a simple melody is to be focused ourselves. It's easier for the kirtan leader to be focused, and it's easier for the people in the kirtan to follow, to chant. The power of the kirtan lies in everyone chanting together. This is what kirtan is all about, is when everyone's chanting for the pleasure of Krishna, loudly. So if the melody is too complicated, some people might get a little mental or shy, because they might hit the wrong notes on the melody. So keep the melody simple. And hearing what we chant. Sometimes we chant and we don't really hear. Right? Does it happen sometimes? Maybe? Yeah? It happens to me. Sometimes I'm chanting, but I'm not hearing. It's just lip service. The lips are moving, but it's not going in there. Or sometimes it's going in here and it's coming back out through the other one. So it needs to go in, go to the heart. Create something powerful and wonderful there in the heart, and then come back out with a lot of faith, with a lot of conviction through the mouth.
And also, I would say, I've noticed, there's simple melodies, but also I've noticed some of the melodies that we sing. Sometimes when the chorus replies, it's like a collective amnesia. Everybody sings 3 Hares. Have you ever heard that? Yeah. One's 4 Ramas. It's have to be conscious. And sometimes this happens, and neither the leader, the Kirtan's leader, nor the devotees responding, nobody even notices that. And that's collective amnesia. We have to be very, very conscious of what we sing, hear what we sing. Because some of the melodies, sometimes they go a little bit longer in some syllables, and the tendency is to sort of add to it. Yeah,
So now Radhika is going to talk a little bit about the history of Mridanga. I'm going to try and demonstrate some Mridanga rhythms, some sounds from the Mridanga and Kartals.
Well, we all know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came 500 years ago. He was Radha and Krishna himself combined. But now before he came down, of course, Krishna carries his dearmost friend everywhere with him. What is that? The flute. Yeah, everybody knows that. And the flute said, but you're going down, what am I going to do here, all alone? Even the spiritual world is not the spiritual world without Krishna. Krishna says, but in this form, I'm not going to carry a flute. You can't come down. The flute said, but no, I cannot be without you. I will come down. Allow me to come down as a Mridanga. Now, as we heard, the Mridanga is a very special instrument, more so than any other instrument. Even the Vaishnava-acharyas talk about it, right? Mridanga vadya shunite mana, which means my mind always begs to hear the sound of the Mridanga. That's what Bhaktivedanta Thakur says. And my heart dances in ecstasy whenever I hear the kind of kirtan established by Lord Gaurasundar. The Mridanga is a very special instrument. Why? Because like all musicians, any musician will use his instrument to channel his talent, but the talent also implies the ego, right? Big. I mean, the better you are, the more it is. But with the Mridanga, it doesn't really work like that because it is transcendental and comes directly from the spiritual world. It will not be a transcendental, transparent via media. If the Mridanga player has to be the instrument, and the Mridanga is the personality. It's like reverse. Like Madhava was saying, sometimes, if this happens and the Mridanga player plays beats that he will never be able to play again, that's because Balaram just demonstrates, the Shakti of Balaram just flows. And yeah, so what will happen right now is Madhava he will explain some beats, what they are, and he will show them, and we hope he's channeling the Shakti of Balaram. Let's see if he is.
Before we go to the Mridanga, these are very powerful weapons. They can make the kirtan really sweet and beautiful, but they can also destroy the kirtan. Kartals. They're very loud and piercing, but if played tastefully and with a little practice and knowledge, they can sound beautiful. So there's Those kartals can be played in different ways. The normal way we play it is, the very, very simple way is the 1, 2, 3. Very simple, right? And then we have our, a little bit more fancy when the kirtan is, slow and more soft, right? We play it on the edge. It's the same 1, 2, 3. Sounds different and more sweet. So the kartal player needs to follow the mridanga player. And the mridanga player needs to follow the singer. So if the kartal player is speeding up, it will make the mridanga player speed up. If the mridanga player is speeding up, then it will make the singer speed up. And the singer doesn't want to speed up. So what do? There's a problem. So focus. That's the main thing. Kirtan means a team. We need to work as a team. The kartal player works with the mridanga player, and the mridanga player follows the mood of the singer. So this is how kirtan works. So this 1, 2, 3 is played according to the style of kirtan, to the intensity, to the mood of the kirtan. If the kirtan is soft, we play something soft. And put feelings into it when it needs a little decoration. And when it goes faster, if it goes louder, it's all about practice, right? We just experiment. We experiment with the sound. What sound do we get on, with this instrument? We try everywhere. All the sides. Sometimes I play kartals like this, or like this. It's also a sound, right? We just experiment, and we do everything for Krishna's pleasure. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he gives intelligence, his ability in man. So we pray to Balaram, we pray to Krishna to give us the ability to play kartals or to play mridanga. So just be careful next time you grab one of those. Don't destroy the kirtan. So the mridanga Mridanga is non-different from Balaram. So the very first thing that we do when we are taking Mridanga is to pay respects to Balaram. Namo Jagannathaya Sutaya, Namo Mridanga Lavanam, Rasa Madhuri Sahasra Guna Sangyuktam, Namo Mridanga Lavanam, Namo Baladevaya Namaha. All right? Yeah. And then the next thing is we touch the Mridanga to our head. Respect. We pay respects to the Mridanga. So I'm going to show you a few exercises, hand practice. We call it Hatuti mantras. The Mridanga that would loosen your hands. Just to start with. The very famous one is, everyone knows, Etiquette. I personally practiced this mantra for 6 months in Vrindavan. 2 or 3 hours every day just to get those loose. And it needs to be flexible so that you can do anything with it. Te's 4 fingers close on the small side. Te, Re. Raise with the thumb. If you haven't done it before, it might hurt a little bit. It's open. Te, Re. Re is open. K. K is 4 fingers close on the big side. Te, Re, Ke, Ta. Ta is open. 4 fingers open. So we start slowly saying the mantra and then keep that rhythm for some time, 10, 15 minutes, the same rhythm, and then you move to a different speed. And you do that for an hour, if you can. All right. Te re ke ta, 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 te re ke ta. So the whole idea is to just loosen up. And there's more complicated hand practice, like te re ke ta, te re ke ta, te re te re te re ke ta, te re ke ta, te re te re te re ke ta, te re ke ta, te re te re te re. It's all about practice, right? And then we have different sounds. Experiment with the Mridanga. We have different sounds in the Mridanga. We have the 1 finger open. Australia, you don't have the best Mridangas, because they're, I think, at customs, they X-ray them and they spoil the Mridangas. It's not the best Mridanga, but we'll try our best. It's an open sound. And we have 3 fingers closed, 1 finger open.
What do you call those sounds?
There are mantras for it, but personally I haven't learned mantras. I've learned a few mantras just to, I'll tell you the story. I started learning mantras from one of the teachers in Vrindavan. And at the same time, I was Aindra's Mridanga player. And that Mridanga teacher told me that I had to stop playing in the kirtan if I learned from him, because I was playing something else, and I would practice something else, so it would just mess up, the movements of my hands. So I was learning from him for 2 months, just the basic hand practice mantras, and then I told Aindra what he told me, that I had to stop playing in the kirtans. And Aindra Prabhu looked at me very gravely. He said, "Do you want to die practicing Mridanga, or do you want to die playing in kirtan?" I said, "Okay." Very, very simple. I want to die playing kirtan. And he said, "Okay, stop learning." I just stopped learning. And because I was going to the deities every day, I was praying Gaurnitar, Krishna Balaram and Radha Shamsundar. I was praying to them very sincerely, actually. Please, my Lord, make me become the best Mridanga player. So I was getting, there's beats that would just come, and they would just come once and never come again. So knowledge would flow. So I never really learned mantras, actually. These are just a few basic hand practice mantras that I'm showing you. But the things that I play in kirtan, they're not really mantras. They're mantras in some way. Everything is mantras, but I don't play the technical. I play with
your heart.
With my heart. Okay, so there's different sounds, that we experiment with, the open sound, the closed sound. Then we have the closed sound on the big side, the open sound on the big side. Then practice here to make the just get this loose. This is not with the thumb. The thumb is different. And then there's a special sound, which is not really in the books. It's the nails. And we have the very simple Prabhupada beat, what Sri Prabhupada played, in the simple kirtans. Prabhupada would play this very simple beat and get a kirtan going, because he would just put all his love and feelings in this mridanga playing and his singing. It wasn't his fancy mridanga playing that made the kirtan happen. And we have different versions of this simple Prabhupada beat. So the bass is the same thing, the Prabhupada beat. Then we add a few more things. And then if we play in bhajans more softly. It's the same Prabhupada beat. This we're using the warmth. It's all about knowing the Mridanga. We try, experiment, see what sound we get here. Kirtan is all about making the Mridanga talk. We're expressing our feelings through the Mridanga. The Mridanga is talking, and Kirtan and it makes everyone dance. Attack. This is a little bit more groovy and funky. And clapping is also important in Kirtan. So we're going to try and hear you clap. Clap in time. Sometimes if you clap too fast, it's not good. Now you clap softly. It's all about feeling the mood. And sometimes you can even clap with your fingers. I'm just joking. Faster. Practice. This is years of practice, but it's Srila Prabhupada says rhythm is the heart of kirtan, not music, rhythm. So the mridanga, is the heart of the kirtan. If we have a good groovy beat, we can keep on singing for hours. But if that rhythm is not happening, so it's really hard to get a kirtan going. That's why we need strong, good mridanga players. Who can drive a kirtan, but also with a nice mood. Of being the servant of Balaram, not using Balaram to get to wherever we want to be. And there's also different rhythms, like the 2-beat. Play for Krishna. And we get more knowledge. Mridanga is beautiful. I've been playing Mridanga since I was 5 years old. But it's never too late to start. So now we're going to do a little. Any questions? We've got 5 more minutes.
Isn't the ones that we have in the temple are the Balram Mridangas? I think it's a bit. I found them a little bit different. I struggle a bit. On the other one if I have to play the same beat. So I'm not sure if you can clear that out.
Yes, the Balram Mridangas these are the real Mridangas, the traditional call, from Navadvip, from West Bengal, made out of clay. There's a reason why it's made out of clay, because it resounds. The clay makes it resound. And then we have the heads, which rings, the small head which needs to ring, and the big head also, it needs to have a deep, boomy sound. But the Balaram Mridanga it's a new version of Mridanga, because in the earlier days, they used to go out on Harinams, for 8 to 10 hours every day, and especially in the West, where the weather is not good. It's raining, snow. That's why they made the Balaram Mridanga. But you don't get the best sound out of it. If you want the best sound, this Mridanga, the clay drums are the best. Yeah. Sure.
Madhava, you travel the world a bit. Do you think Kirtan is the same numbers, or is it spreading? Is it some type of momentum that's spreading quicker, or?
Kirtan is definitely spreading. Mahaprabhu Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction was, kirtan will be spread in every town and village. Last month we were at this festival in the Ukraine, and on the Black Sea, the devotees there rented a whole resort, and we had kirtans with 10,000 people, 10,000 devotees.
And just Russian devotees.
These are just devotees from Russia and the Ukraine,
Russia.
not even Europe. So it is definitely spreading, and you can imagine, having kirtan with 10,000 devotees, how powerful, that can be. Because kirtan is the easiest way to connect, to link up. It's the highest form of bhakti yoga. To link up with Krishna. Anyone else?
Actually, if you are reaching the end of the kirtan and people want to dance, and the kirtan leader, for some reason, he can't accelerate, he can't go faster. Can the Mridanga player and the Kartal player go faster to make it more intense?
That's not really recommended. No, it's always best to follow the leader.
But why can't the leader go faster?
For some reason, sometimes they can't.
Or why does he have to?
They're always on the same reason. Like even from the first minute to the last minute, same pace. But sometimes people want to.
But you don't really have to go faster to dance. Madhava doesn't really.
Yeah, that's fine. But when you sing, sometimes as I listen, the Mridanga players they go double beat, even though you're not accelerating. Is that all right or I'm wrong?
Yeah, there's points in the kirtan when he goes a little faster. It doesn't seem it's not going fast abruptly. It's slowly going faster. That's his style. That's more my style of doing kirtan. It starts very slow, then it slowly builds up, then at the end it's going quite fast. The Mridanga player is like sweating and. But it depends on who's singing, But sometimes too fast also is not good. How fast can you dance, right? Or how long can you dance fast? The thing about dancing also is we dance gracefully for Krishna's pleasure. Just like the gopis and gopas, they dance for Krishna's pleasure, they dance with Krishna. So we have to dance devotionally, not be like in a rave and banging the head against the wall and doing flips and stuff like that, especially in front of the deities. We have to be very conscious. Yeah, the Mridanga, it's not good if the Mridanga player forces the singer to go fast. Yeah. So this is the Kirtan etiquette. The Mridanga player follows with humility, follows the Mridanga, the singer. Yeah.
What should be the mood if the devotees are listening to the Kirtan?
Good. Radhika will tell you.
Well, it's a team, right? It's not like on one side and the other side. It has to be the same. Because if the audience is a different mood, how is the kirtan going to happen? It's not possible. It's the same responsibility of focus. And like Madhava was explaining, if we don't know how to play an instrument, we don't start playing then. If sometimes you can hear, it happened, we are in kirtan and somebody far away in the audience is playing 1, 2, 3, but not quite in the rhythm. Or it's a 2-beat kirtan and they're playing 1, 2, 3. Everything is disrupted. We have to be conscious of the kirtan, not of us. This is where we'll start to learn really devotional service, right? It's the first step. It's not all about us. It's about kirtan. It's about Krishna. It's about the other Vaishnavas. It's about everybody else except us. So the mood, the responsibility is the same.
Sometimes when I lead kirtan, I think, Well, I'm trying to put as much energy as possible, to bring my mind back when it's like running away. Really closing my eyes and, intensely trying to pray and focus. And then sometimes I open my eyes and I see, people are like looking around, spacing out, and I think, well, okay, why should I waste my time? Why should I put all this energy when other people aren't doing it? And if people were doing it, then the kirtan, the intensity, the power of the kirtan would be much, much more powerful. So it's the same responsibility, with the same focus.
What do you do then as a kirtan leader if you see that they're not enthused or they're not focusing? What can you do then as a kirtan leader?
I just give them some bad looks. Nah.
But I would think also this is what Sachinananda Maharaj did. You were at New Govardhan. Then it was one of the things, when the kirtan is over, and then you hear this babble of voices slowly ascending like a crescendo. It was insane. Blah, 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 After the kirtan, because our eyes, we absorb the mood. We don't just start talking to each other. And Maharaj had to speak again and again and again and again. It's a question of education. We were the same. We had to be educated. Everybody has to be educated. Kirtan is deep, kirtan is intense, and after kirtan, we try to carry that with us. Not just immediately, we switch off a light. We are in the mode of what? Social life right after. It doesn't make sense really. So it means the kirtan leader has his responsibility of always saying louder. Sing, or what is really good is when the kirtan leader starts to say, when he leads and then there is a response, and he has a response lead for a few times. Then it's like the responsibility is on the audience, and then you become more aware, and you become more focused, and then you feel that responsibility. And then when the kirtan goes on, then there's more of a teamwork. It's more like a togetherness.
What I've been also trying to do is, maybe give a small talk in the beginning of the kirtan. How we should try and focus the mind, bring the mind back to the kirtan when it's running away. And I think that helps. It's not just me giving the talk to the audience, but it's also preaching to myself, just getting myself psyched and ready for this kirtan. And then during the kirtan, just encouraging the people to sing louder, little louder, with your heart. I'm not just telling the people, this is me, I'm reminding myself, chant with your heart. So I think that also helps. And like Radhika says, Matajis, sometimes I tell the Matajis to sing, or the Prabhus to sing, then everyone together. So it makes everyone feel included. It's not my show. Kirtan is never our show. This is Krishna. Krishna is the audience. We're trying to get Krishna's attention. So we need to devise any clever plans that can bring people to a focus on the main audience, in a nice way. One more question?
I just have a question about the harmonium. Is there a special mood or approach to how you were explaining about Mridanga and Kartals? Anything about harmonium?
All the instruments are considered to be Balaram, so we treat all the instruments
And it's just that the harmonium is not really a traditional Indian instrument, but still it somehow found its way in Gaudiya Vaishnava Kirtan because it supports the voice, it lends sweetness. And then...
If you also see the traditional, well, not really traditional, but the Indian style of music, when the ustad, when the master, is coming on stage and just before he starts playing the harmonium, he touches the harmonium to his head, to his heart. So this is the culture. We respect all the instruments because these instruments are being used in Krishna's service. We don't step over the instruments. We don't let them lie around. This is part of the etiquette, kirtan etiquette. Krishna sees the attitude and the mood. Krishna doesn't need our voices, Krishna has the gopis and the gopas. They are like the most beautiful singers. Who are we? Who am I? Sing like a frog. Not even the frogs in Goloka Vrindavan sings better. It's the mood. Thank you very much for coming and joining us. Hopefully, whatever we talked made some sense for you. Thank you. And also very important, one very important thing, when we finish kirtan, we always pay our respects to the Vaishnavas. Humility. Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhya.